Well, nowadays there are many new areas of investment, especially renewable energy, for example, is something which is blooming all across the country, all across the world, including emerging markets. And lots of developing countries, emerging markets, they are actually happen to be having lots of sun, and most of them having a lot of wind. And especially if these projects are made by some support of the governments, like long-term credibility, assistance of the government somehow in some shape, then these also provide a huge new opportunity. So yes, the deglobalization is a reality, but when we look at the investments as long-term investments, not just short-term in and out, short-term opportunity, but long-term investments, then overall, the growth rate of the developing countries will be higher than the developed countries. So if the countries are chosen in a wise way, if you don't put all the eggs in one basket but diversify enough, so in the long term, on average, the investments in the developing world will have higher returns than the investments in the developed world. So that's, I think, very important for long-term view. Of course, there will be ups and downs. Emerging markets means risks. It means volatility. It means political instability from time to time, and it's in the very nature of it. But then, when you have that long-term vision, it's a win-win outcome. For renewables, by the way, for renewable energy, which is very, very important to reach the 2050 targets of net zero emissions, there's not enough financing yet. I mean, I happen to be in the 2015 group of UN for Sustainable Development Goals, 2030 goals. I also happen to be in the G20 eminent persons group for how to finance. But still, to reach the 2030 goals, the Sustainable Development Goals, the money is not there, and it is underinvested. And it is not going to be there. It is going to be a dream to reach the 2030 or the 2050 targets if we look at the financing for renewables as of now. So decarbonization investment is also a very important area, and how to finance it has to go through unorthodox mechanisms. The orthodox mechanisms is not working for financing decarbonization. And here, again, reserve currency issuing central banks should have a role. Because the currency they issue will not be worth a lot if our sons and grandsons don't live in a world where everyone is suffering. So it's time to use the powers of the central bank in a wise way, in a very targeted way, for financing decarbonization, for financing renewables. But it has to be done in a also globally coordinated way, so it's not misused. Because when the central bank opens doors, of course, there will be lots of people demanding any kind of thing, but it should be strictly limited to decarbonization for renewable energy, and those specially opened central bank windows should be directed for financing. Otherwise, 2030 targets, impossible to reach. 2050 targets, impossible to reach.
Deva Partisi.